All right, the stream is actually going to start um, at 11:45, even though I'm live now. I will share what I'm looking at, which is what the heck is it? Why can't I see it? All right, that's weird. Okay. All right, not now. Oh, maybe that was why. There we go. There we go. Okay. So this is my screen. I'll be doing a formal introduction in a little bit, but this is just a live view of the moon right now. Keeping my eye on the histogram, as that's going to tell me how cloudy it really is. Okay, so that's weird. right, I'll be starting my commentary in just a couple of minutes. I see somebody's come in, so welcome. And I have a live view of the moon on the screen right now. And I think I'm going to need to make some adjustments to that. Yes, I am. Looks like the clouds have gotten a little bit thicker. So I'm going to increase the exposure on that just a tad. And let's adjust the position of the moon. All right, there. Yeah, so there's high thin clouds out, and I went outside about 25 minutes ago to take to switch filters. I had to put a different filter in for the moon. I don't want a filter that I'm using to take pictures of very faint nebula with for the moon, because with a color camera it's going to affect the colors in a really weird way. So I use a UV IR cut filter, just a plain clear filter, but it blocks some light. So this is just a white light view of the moon in true color right now. And if it starts to get too bright, that means the clouds are thinning. And if it starts to get darker, that means well, right now that means the clouds will be getting thicker. But let's see where things are in a minute. I'm just wrapping up my commentary here. Hang on. All right. There. All right. That's cool. Awesome. All right, let's see how we're doing here. So I'll be going in and out with the commentary. The thing with lunar eclipses is they go very slowly. The action, unlike a solar eclipse where a lot of it goes really slow, but the really fun part is pretty quick with the total solar eclipse. With the lunar eclipse, it's usually much longer. Tonight we've got an hour and 5 minutes of totality, so that's going to be cool. I'll be again starting up in just a couple of minutes. I'll start talking. and sharing. All right. I am going to shoot a quick video of the moon. As long as it'll let me go. I think I can go about a minute. Let's get rid of that. And okay, it's starting to brighten up, which means the clouds are thinning out. And we got to reduce the gain. Wow. That's about good, I think. A little bit less on the histogram there. Okay, I'm going to record. After I finish this recording, I'll start the live stream. This is going to take about another 50 seconds. And let me just bring up that one screen. Hang on one second. All right, 11:57. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Let me just bring this up. All right. Hello, and welcome to this special live stream of the March 13th and 14th, 2025 Lunar Eclipse. I'm Wayne Zoll, the host and producer of the Astro Guy podcast. And it appears tonight that we're going to witness one of the most spectacular celestial events that it's visible to the naked eye, a total lunar eclipse. It's always a sight to behold. It's really a beautiful thing. Earth's shadow will slowly creep across the moon, turning it from its usual bright white into a deep coppery red. And the best part, you don't need any special equipment to see it. As long as you have clear skies, excuse me, as long as you have clear skies, you can enjoy the entire event with just your eyes. But of course, if you have binoculars or a telescope, it's worth taking a look. Tonight, I'll guide you through each phase of the eclipse, explaining what's happening. I'll share some fun lunar facts. And if anybody's got questions, just put them in the chat and I'll answer your questions. Along the way, we'll also talk about why the moon turns red, how this ties into Earth's atmosphere, and some of the cool history and science behind eclipses, and just some interesting facts about lunar eclipses as well. And if you're just joining, Please make sure to say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. And I really love hearing where people are tuning in from for events like this. All right, let's get started. So in a little less than 10 minutes, the first part of the eclipse is going to begin. And that's when the moon enters the Earth's penumbra, which is the faint outer shadow that's cast by the Earth. At first, we won't notice very much. It's pretty subtle, and over the next probably half hour to 45 minutes, the moon will start to take on a dimmer, slightly darker look, but it really is pretty faint. I think for me at least, with the high clouds that we have here in New Jersey tonight, um, it may actually help us notice that difference because it is pretty subtle, but we'll have to see what happens. So uh, the reason that it has the two different shadows is the edge, the Earth's the shadow edge isn't. It's not a sharp edge. It's more of a gradient. So the outer part doesn't block all the sunlight, but it does filter a lot of it. So it causes a very gradual dimming effect. And if you're taking pictures, this is a good time to get those before shots because as we get nearer to totality, when we get to the partial phase, um, the changes start happening quicker. So the before shots, now's the time to do it. So, all right, I'm gonna shut up for a minute, and as we get a little bit closer to first contact, which is at, let's see, where's that? I just had it open. Here it is. At local time is 11:57:28. So uh, right now it is 11:50:41. So again, a little less than 7 minutes. But we're not going to notice much after that 7 minutes. And in fact, as the umbra starts progressing across the moon, I'll show you a few other things, and then we'll go back to the live view. All right, I'm going to take one more video again at 40. 1 millisecond. That's good. Just adjust that real quick. Okay. So I'm going to fire off another 1 minute video, and this is going to be my before image. When you're looking at the image that's on the screen, you'll notice that the moon isn't super sharp. I mean, it's in focus, but you might notice some wavering in the atmosphere. Oh wow, that was an insect or a bird that just flew past the moon. Um, And that's the unsteadiness in our atmosphere, the boiling in our atmosphere. So um, after this is all done, I'll take these videos and I put them through a process called stacking. And what the stacking does is it allows me to uh, find the best frames of video, the sharpest, the clearest frames, and then put them together and add them up and create and create an image from it. So, all right, I'm going to shut up until some people are here. Also, I will zoom in and pan around the moon a bit. So we're just about a little over a minute from first contact with the penumbra. No, 2 minutes. 2 minutes away. And let me see, where's it going to come in? Which side? So okay, so there. All right. So if I show you on the screen, okay. So the shadow is going to come in from this side. Hopefully, you can see my mouse over here. Let me see. Can you see my? No, that's the wrong screen. I knew I should have set up that second monitor today. All right. So go back to here. Okay, yes, you can see my pointer. So the shadow is going to come in somewhere over here on this side. And again, at the beginning of this, it's just a few seconds away now. Let's see. All right, less than a minute, about 45 seconds away from first contact with the penumbra. But likely we're not going to notice anything. And it's going to take probably 10 to 15 minutes, maybe even more, before we notice any dimming. Again, this part of the eclipse goes a little bit slow, but we'll zoom in and take a look around the moon and see some other interesting things. So I'll try to keep it interesting. All right. Oh, here we go. 4, 3, 2, 1, and the eclipse is on. So the penumbra, the outer edge of the Earth's shadow, is now making contact with the moon. Again, it's somewhere over in this area here. I don't know exactly where, but based on what I've seen animation-wise of what this should look like, and this is a live view of the moon right now. Um, it should come in right over here. And so the fun part, when we really can start to see what's happening, the timings for that are, let's see, There we go. So at 109 and 40 seconds, which is a little over an hour and about an hour and 10 minutes from now, um, that's when the umbra will first make contact with the moon, and then we'll start to see uh, it'll look like a bite being taken out of the moon. That's when the fun really begins. And while that phase is going on, we'll look at the moon as long as the clouds, stay thin enough that we can still see it. We'll look at the moon with a wide field, and then we'll zoom in and we'll look at the edge of the shadow and maybe even watch as the shadow slowly traverses across different features on the moon. So that'll be kind of fun. That'll be fun for me. I don't know about anybody else, but so I have to periodically make these adjustments because the alignment on my mount is a little bit off. And normally that wouldn't be a big issue, the amount that it's off. It's not gonna it's not that bad, but every few minutes I need to make minor adjustments like this. But uh, yeah, I was taking 2-minute exposures earlier tonight, and the guiding was perfect. But because the moon is so large, uh, it basically fills my guide scope. So the guide scope has nothing to guide on. So it can't make those minor adjustments to keep the moon perfectly centered. So every now and then I'll have to put this up. Not that I have to, but I'll put that up. It makes it a little bit easier, and I'll recenter the moon. I'll also periodically be checking the histogram to see what the peaks are. And right now the max is 206, and that's just near the start of uh, the partial penumbral phase, or the start of the penumbral phase, I should say. So hopefully, if the cloud level doesn't change, um, this number should get slightly lower over as the eclipse progresses. So that'll be an interesting measure to see. But we'll check back on that in a few minutes. Let me just pop the histogram away. In fact, what I'll do is let me, since there's not a whole lot to see just yet, let me zoom in a bit. And let's take a look at some different features here. There we go. That looks pretty nice. There's Plato. That's always the crater Plato is right there, that big crater. Stop drifting. There it goes. And I can, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more. That's actually as much as I can zoom in tonight in order to see the, without having to take apart everything. Again, I was shooting deep sky images tonight before the up until about 45 minutes ago. I was shooting the Horsehead Nebula, and so this is just zooming in, and you can really see the atmosphere boiling. It's not literally boiling; that's just a term we call it. But that's the different. The atmosphere is moving. it's upper level winds and things like that, and that's why there's that shimmering look that you see on the edges, and why the image looks kind of soft. It's perfectly focused, or is perfectly focused. It's in the zone of focus where it needs to be. Um, and when I do the focusing, that's done electronically. I don't even touch it. There's a motorized focuser, and it's I don't need to go into the details of how it works, but it's very accurate. And but I'm also zoomed in here with, and we're looking at video, live video. But if I zoom out, it appears much clearer than it was zoomed all the way in. And honestly, at different levels, like at this level, which is 480p, I think that shows it really well with this focal length. And this is being shot at about 380 millimeters focal length. So if you had a camera lens with a 380 millimeter focal length, that's what this is the equivalent of. But this is a 70 millimeter telescope that I have it hooked up to. It's a Teleview Pronto that has a reducer flattener on it, which shortens the focal length from its native 480 millimeters down to about 380. I think the native is 480. I don't know. I'd have to check. So let's go back and let's recenter them on. Hey, I pressed the right button that time. I should know which button does what, but I always get it wrong. And again, this is not the exciting part of the eclipse. So I can show you, let me put up what I was shooting just a little while ago. Let me get rid of that. Oops. Get rid of that. And that. So earlier this evening, I was taking pictures of the Horsehead Nebula in the constellation Orion. And let me stop sharing that, and I'm going to share this. Here we go. So this is a single 2-minute exposure. This one's not from tonight. This was from the 10th or the 11th. It tells me right here on the screen. Duh. It was the 10th. And so this is just a 2-minute exposure, and that's the Horsehead Nebula there, and the Flame Nebula there, and the bright stars Alnitak in Orion. And there's a lot of other things in here. But let me stop that share. And now it's back to me, and I'm going to share what so far I've collected 7 hours of data on that particular target over, I don't know, 4 or 5 nights. It's only up over the trees for about 2 or 3, well, about 3 or 4 hours. So I got enough. After tonight, I should have about 10 hours. But I did a quick process of the 7 hours of data that I had. And I'll share that right now on the screen because it's pretty cool. Where is it? Let me open it and then now share. There we go. So that's after 7 hours of capturing data on the Horsehead. This is, and oh, there we go. So like I said, in that image, the 2-minute image, you really don't see most of what's here because it's very faint. So that's why I take a lot of exposures and then add them all together. But I was able to bring out some really faint details. I'm going to zoom in on a few areas here. So this area over here, there's a lot of faint details that are really starting to come out. I'm hoping that with the data that I collected tonight, that'll really come out even more. And also on the horse head itself, you can see some of the very faint, and there is very faint emission nebula that covers this area, and some of that started to come out. The reflection nebula, I forget the catalog number on that, but that's showing really nicely. There's some really nice detail in the flame, but the downside is I have these horrible, horrible halos, which are going to be a nightmare to process out. Uh, there's that one down there, and I'll zoom out, and that one up there. A couple of cool things is there's this nebula over here, which again I forget the catalog number, but that one I'm starting to get some real nice details on that one. That's a pretty interesting spot. And on the two reflection nebula here, this one and this one down here. So again, this was a very quick process done just to see where I was at. Normally, I would remove the stars and process the stars and the nebula separately and then add them together at the end. So the stars wouldn't be this bright on a finished image. I like the stars to be a bit more subdued, but that's just my preference. Um, and I think that's kind of the preference these days, but there's some beautiful bright stars here, and I think you have to highlight those. So I think my final image of this is going to be closer to this than something where the stars are a bit more muted. So that's what I was working on earlier this evening. So there's that, and let me go back to the moon. Okay. So let's see what the histogram is showing. It's higher now. So that means the clouds were doing more of the blocking than the shadow was. The more the dimming, not blocking. Let me just play around with the exposure for a second. I have never shot with gain 0 before. Let's give it a shot. I don't know. That's the gain. All right, so I want to get 3 milliseconds. There we go. That's looking nice. All right, so that number's at about 150. And oops, I keep clicking the wrong place. Let me go full screen there. So again, there's none of the shadow is going to be really visible until much later. In a little less than an hour. That's when the dark part of the shadow comes in. But again, as the eclipse progresses, the number that I was talking about here, that number right now it's at one. It's about 150 something. At the rate that I'm shooting, it's only shooting about 14 or 15 frames a second. Even though I have it set to 1 millisecond, um, it because of the device I'm using to shoot. Again, I'm getting too technical. I won't get too technical, but I'll just leave it at that. That's fine. It's gonna be a long night. All right. So yeah, that number's holding steady in the low 150s. In 10 or 15 minutes, that number might be in the 140s as the shadow starts to the faint outer part of the shadow starts to progress. So here's a let me share something different about this. This is what an animation of what the eclipse is going to look like. Let me pause that and go back to here. Share a window. Oh. There. Okay. Okay. Share. Okay, let me just share this. It's a pretty cool animation. There we go. So this is from the website timeanddate.com. And I'm just going to hit play, and you'll see that's the penumbra, the very faint part of the shadow coming in. And then the umbra, which is the darker part, and this is what we can expect. And then it's going to start to get reddish, and then we get into the full part of the eclipse, which should be beautiful. And then it's going to come out, and we get the whole process in reverse. And if it's still clear at about this point, I'm probably going to end the stream because I have to get some sleep. So, well, hopefully it stays clear. Stop there. All right. So let me go back to the live view of the moon and share that. Share. There we go. So there's the moon. This is live. Again, the shadow is coming in from this side, and is going to make its way this way across the moon, or this way, I should say, across the moon. And it's hard, even for me, it's hard to say if it appears any darker or not. But looking at the numbers, still holding in the low 150s. So that's a good sign. I do see stars on my security cam, so that's a good thing. All right, so those of you that just tuned in, very early on in the stream, there was some birds that flew in front of the moon. It was kind of cool looking. All right. So there's a live view, 150s. All right, let's see how we're doing here. to that. Exit the full screen. And so again, at 109.40, which is a little less than, or just about 50 minutes from now, that's when the fun's really going to begin. So as that happens, like even now, I was reading earlier, there was an article on space.com about lunar eclipses, and it was about interesting facts about lunar eclipses. So some of them I was familiar with, some of them I wasn't. But it was a really interesting article. Like they talked about for this eclipse tonight, more than 1 billion people are going to be in the viewing zone for the eclipse. So doesn't mean the skies are going to be clear, but the population of people is more than 1 billion that are going to be able to see part or all of the eclipse, which is really impressive to think about. Some other interesting facts about lunar eclipses: if you were on the moon during a lunar eclipse, the temperature drops quite a bit. There was a total lunar eclipse in February 1971, and using some of the equipment that was left behind by Apollo 12, they were able to monitor the temperature at the Apollo 12 landing site and at the Apollo 14 landing site. The temperature dropped from 168.3 to minus 153 degrees Fahrenheit, or 75.7 to minus 102.8 in Celsius. That's a change of 321.3 degrees Fahrenheit, or 178.5 Celsius. At the Apollo 14 site, the temperature difference was a little bit less. It dropped from 154.1 to minus 153, or 67.8 to minus 102 Celsius. So that range was 307 Fahrenheit, or 169.8 Celsius. So about almost 10 degrees less Celsius than the Apollo 12 site. So the temperature drops 300 plus degrees Fahrenheit, or 180 degrees, or 170, 180 degrees Celsius in the from the start of the eclipse to the darkest part of the eclipse. That's really amazing. The phase, the longest that totality can last, is 107 minutes, and that's if the moon passes through the middle of the shadow, like right through the middle. The right now that length is 107 minutes. There was an eclipse in July of 2000 that was visible in eastern Asia and parts of Australia. It was one of the longest on record. It lasted 106 minutes and 25 seconds. There was a longer one on August 13th, 1859, lasted a whole 3 seconds longer. And before there's going to be a longer total lunar eclipse. That one's going to last 106 minutes and 35 seconds. Or that's what they've calculated that it will last. And that's not going to happen until August 19th, 4,753. So that's for the longest ones. Now, lunar eclipses can also be short, a total lunar eclipse. If the moon just kind of skirts the Earth's shadow, that'll happen. So the shortest totality for a lunar eclipse could last, well, theoretically, they say it could last just an instant, but the shortest lunar eclipse uh, that has occurred recently was the one on April 4th, 2015, where the duration of totality was less than 5 minutes. There was one, it might have been a deep partial. Now that I think about it, I don't think it was a total in 2020 or 2021. But anyway, so we'll go back to some facts in a little bit. Let's take a look at the moon, see how that's doing. Let's make a little adjustment, and then we'll take a measurement. And we're still about a half an hour away from, no, less than that, about 15, 16 minutes away from, no, I'm sorry. I got my times wrong. We're about 45 minutes away from the fun. Oh, all right. Now, I don't know if that's cloud or shadow, but the maximum number that's coming in is in the 130s now, or high 120s. My guess is that's cloud, but let me change the view for a minute. Let me go to the preview mode and open the guide scope, and let's go with our shortest possible exposure. All right, so that's okay. So there's some clouds passing through here. Let me adjust the gain. Let me raise the gain a little bit. Let me put it back where it was. So yeah, where it normally is, that doesn't look too bad. If there's clouds, they're just very thin. Yeah, there's one going past right there. I don't know if it's coming through on YouTube, but that was a cloud that went by. So that could be what's impacting the, I can stop that. I don't need to have that taking exposures. And this is back to the live view of the moon. All right, that number's up now. It's in the high 130s, 140. So it may have been that drop of 10 may be due to the shadow, but it is hard to tell. But again, the right now the penumbra probably is covering about 2/3 of the moon. It's large. It's larger than well, I don't want to say it's larger than the umbra because I'm not 100% sure, but it's big. And it does take a while to go across. Actually, I don't think it's larger than the umbra. In fact, I know it's not larger than the umbra. Yeah, see, we're almost back up. Yeah, we're back to the 150 number now. So I just want to take a quick, that's pretty good. Let's make a quick adjustment here. And then I'm going to shoot another video. And this one is going to be, well, I'll have the timestamp. I should be shooting videos every like 10 minutes, and I haven't been. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a, no, it's 28. Yeah, all right. We'll go every 10 minutes. And then as we get closer to the fun stuff, we'll do it probably more frequently. But I'm just going to take a, so I'm now shooting about 55 frames a second or 50 frames a second. It's only displaying about 5 frames a second on the screen, but that's because it's devoting all the computing power to capturing the image as opposed to displaying it. But the moon looks a lot more contrasty than it did before, and that may be due to the shadow. It could also be due to the high clouds. And there we go. But and if you just joined us, please put your say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. So in about 10 minutes, I'll take another video. Actually, why don't I do this while we're waiting on that? Why don't we actually see what the video is going to look like? Because we just saw the moon and we did see that shimmering in the atmosphere and all that. But let's see what it looks like when I stack it, because I can actually stack it on here. It's going to take a few minutes, but there's not a lot of action happening right now. So as long as it's done before the good stuff, I'm fine with it. So the one that I just took is right here. And next, 38 seconds. Let's choose my anchor over here. That's a good anchor. Stack. So this is going to run for several minutes. It's pretty quick. And this is not the way that I do my finished images. I don't stack them with this device. This is the actual device that I use to control all the equipment that takes these pictures. And it has this live stacking feature in it. When the images that I take of the moon are always shot as a video, and then I use stacking software that finds the best frames and then adds those good frames together to create a clean, nice, sharp image. Because every image isn't going to be perfect, and it doesn't make it perfect, but it makes it a lot better and a lot clearer. And then after that, it goes through some sharpening and contrast and those kind of enhancements and things, and a little bit of creative work. Most of the lunar images that I do are unfortunately taken through a filter that's not designed for taking images of the moon. Usually I'm out doing deep sky imaging, and I have some kind of light pollution filter on there. And if I was using a monochrome camera, it wouldn't be too much of an issue, but it wouldn't be an issue at all, actually. But because I'm using a color camera, it 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 makes the moon look very weird. So I have to do a lot in post processing to get the colors a bit more natural. But tonight I'm not shooting through a nebula filter. I swap filters a little earlier in the evening, and there's a it's called the UV-IR blocking filter, and to us it looks clear, but there is a coating on there that blocks some ultraviolet and infrared light, uh, which for astrophotography is extremely important because that prevents stars from bloating. Uh, if it picks up the infrared signal, I think that's what it is. I'm not 100% sure, but the stars won't bloat. Don't quote me on that part because I don't know the real science behind how these filters. I understand the science behind how they work, but I can't explain why the UV-IR prevents the star bloat. That's a different story. I don't want to give the wrong information. Let's see. All right, so it's more than halfway done, and it's taken less than 3 minutes. So hopefully, in another 3 minutes, it'll be done. And then once it's done stacking, then I'll go in and I'll do a little bit of sharpening, and we can play around with the contrast and all that. So uh, just stick around. It's I promise it's pretty cool. It's fun to watch live. Um, so actually, while that's going, I have some other interesting facts um, about the moon. Um, so I was talking about why the moon turns red. I told earlier, I was saying that during totality, the moon will turn red, and there's a good explanation for it. Um, so the moon doesn't disappear. It doesn't, it didn't turn black. It glows in shades of deep orange and red, and like almost a coppery color. That's because the Earth's atmosphere acts like a giant lens. It bends and filters the sunlight all around the edges of the planet, so the shorter blue and violet wavelengths get scattered away, just like during a sunset. And while then the longer red and orange wavelengths pass through, and that's what's illuminating the moon. So what you're seeing is every sunrise and sunset on Earth all happening at once, projected onto the surface of the moon. And, again, not every lunar eclipse looks the same. The exact shade can vary. How deep the red is depends on how much dust and pollution or volcanic ash is in the atmosphere. A clear atmosphere tends to lead to a bright coppery moon, while if there's a lot of volcanic activity or high levels of dust, the moon can appear almost blood red in color, or even there was one eclipse I remember, it was almost like a dark brown. um, Sometimes during very and yeah, so it can take on like a brownish or almost a black hue. Tonight we'll see. Hopefully we'll see what it's going to look like, and hopefully it's going to be one of those beautiful coppery red moons. So let's see how we're doing here. All right, so it's still stacking a little bit slower on the back end, but we'll get there. The only thing is, while this is going, I can't go and look at what's happening in the camera. I do have to be wary of one thing, which is the moon is going to cross the meridian, which is the invisible line that runs from the North Pole to the South Pole, directly over our heads. Um, and when it does that, the mount that the telescope is on has to spin around, and our view of the moon is going to go from what it is now to upside down. Because we're going to be looking at it from the other side. So the whole thing is going to flip over. Um, and I can, I'm looking at it and I can see that we're getting near that point where it crosses the meridian. And that's when the moon is at its highest and it's due south. All right, so that's still going. We're 12:37. So again, let me just take a look at. I know there are other live streams out there, and I want to just see how they're doing. Let's go. Here we go. All right. So I'm taking a look at. Okay. So the partial phase. Okay. Now there's Chuck's astrophotography has his view. He's out in Detroit, Michigan, and the view from his place looks similar to what we have here in New Jersey. It looks like high, thin clouds, but he's got a nice view of the moon. And It's it's actually his looks his looks a little better than mine does, but I need to play around with some settings to improve it. But all right, so there's other ones out. All right, this is moving along. It's likely this is going to take about 10 or 11 minutes total, but I promise it's worth the wait. It's going to be very cool. In fact, here, why don't I do this? Let me stop the share so that way you don't watch that because that's boring to watch. And let me share. Entire screen. Oh, wow. Oh boy, that's not what I wanted to do. How do I stop that? Stop the share. Okay, that was bad. Don't do that again. All right. Let's see. Let me take that out. Make it a separate window. There. Now I can share it. All right, there. Share. There we go. So that's Chuck's astrophotography. And again, like I said, he's out in Detroit, Michigan. He's got almost 3,600 people watching. You guys got to spread the word, get some people to help tune in here and make this worth the effort. So yeah, he's using a 127 millimeter telescope, which is like a 5-inch telescope. My guess is it's a Maksudov, which is although I don't think that would be a Mac. I don't know. I don't know what camera. Oh wait, he's using a 2600 MC. I don't know. I'd have to play around and look at the numbers. But again, there's nothing really noticeable here, and the shadow, that faint outer shadow is mostly covering the moon right now. And I don't know, does it look a little bit darker down here than over here? It could, but it's hard to say. And if it is, it's very subtle. That's a nice picture. All right, let me there. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to share the. Oh wait, can I do that? Yes, I can do that. Let me share. So all right, we're almost there. We're at almost 90%. Let's see. Oh, I know. Here, I can show you while we're waiting on that. So, all right. So here's what I'm going to share. This is my, let me stop that and share. Oops. So this is my Astro page, where I store a lot of my images. So these are pretty much in chronological order. And I have all kinds of different images of things that I've taken. It's from close-ups of the moon and Mars to this one, which I'll pop up on the screen. This was a partial eclipse picture that I took down in Sandy Hook. This was the very first picture I took that morning. The people in the foreground had no clue that there was an eclipse happening in front of them, and their silhouettes kind of made the picture, I think, that much more interesting. But that's one of my favorite images, and that picture actually really got me going in astrophotography. Some story. Then I started doing this wide field stuff with the camera, just putting the camera on a tripod. And this is Orion, the constellation Orion. and you can see there's the Orion Nebula, the sword there. Actually, let me zoom in on it. The sword is there, and there's the Orion Nebula. There's the belt is there. There's the Flame Nebula and the Horsehead Nebula, and that's Barnard's Loop is what this bit of nebulosity is called. And very faintly over here, you can start to just barely see a little bit of the Witch Head Nebula by Rigel. But if I were to zoom in on this, the stars look terrible. And this was just a camera and a tripod. Oh, I'm looking at the sky outside, and it doesn't look great right now, but we'll see in a minute. The stacking's at 96% right now. So back to this image. Let me close that down. But that was just a camera on a tripod, and no mount, no drive. It was a bunch of short exposures. I think they were like 2.5-second exposures, and it was like 800 exposures. I think it's I forget the total, but it's about almost an hour of exposure time. On a 506-second exposures, 50 minutes of exposure time, and that got me going. But then when I got a oh no, this was actually even earlier. This was done earlier. There was the same method. The North American Nebula, the Pelican Nebula, the Butterfly Nebula, all throughout Cygnus. The veil is visible down there. I won't go through every one, but then this was about 3 years ago. An image I did of the Horsehead and the Orion Nebula, and the detail here is a little bit better if I zoom in a bit, but you're not seeing the intricate details that I showed earlier. But yeah, and then this is a lunar eclipse from November 2022, which I wish I had better focus on the camera, unfortunately. And that was just a little quick thing I put together from the individual frames. And this is my most recent work, which is the Sol Nebula, and I still need to tweak it. I'm not real happy with the colors. I want to get some more orange, or not more orange, more reds in there. But I got a lot of nice detail with the Dark Nebula and the Bach globules, which are these areas up here. That's areas where stars are forming over here. So that's a recent one. And oops. And let me go back to this because it's done and we can edit there. All right. And let me share it so you guys can see. Share. Okay, so this is the image that we just shot before, and I'm going to make some adjustments to it. So I want to zoom in a bit, and we're going to increase the sharpness. See what 5 does. Oh, that did a nice job. Let's go to 15. I like to do this a little bit at a time. Oh, that made it a lot nicer. Let's try 20. I don't want to go too much. I sometimes tend to go a little too much with that. All right, let's see. Let's bring it back just a hair. Okay, now let's adjust the brightness. So I actually want to make it a little bit brighter. But then I want to increase the contrast. And there we go. Now, there's going to be some weird colors on the edge of the moon. But in post-processing, I clean all that up. There, that's maybe just a hair more, a little bit more. And then we'll look at the full image because right now I'm just zoomed in. There we go. So that's what the moon looked like about 15 minutes ago. So let's save that for now. And finish. So that's saved. And again, I'll post a version of this that's more cleaned up after. So let's take a look at what it's doing out there right now. And there's some cloud in there, so we can still see the moon, which is good. You can see the clouds passing by. Looking at it, there's much thicker cloud now. I'm going to have to adjust the exposure and the gain on this in a minute. Okay. So let's increase the gain. All right, and I'm going to increase the exposure just a little bit there. All right, so I'm taking 20 millisecond exposures, which is pretty quick. Oh, all right. Now we're getting. Let's drop that down. That's a little too long. So the what we're seeing here is clouds passing in front of the moon, and the good news is that as long as even if it's this bad, we'll still see the color. But we'll have to wait and see. And we'll definitely be able to see the partial phases. They're starting in about less than 20 minutes. So, in fact, while we're looking at that, I'm going to check the weather maps. Look at the satellite image. All right. So there's clouds coming in from the east, which is what I'm seeing. And it looks like they're a little bit thicker at right now, and then they thin out a bit. So that could be pretty good. If they do thin out, there's a pretty wide gap where there's still some high cloud, but we should be able to see most of the eclipse. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed and see what Mother Nature delivers for us. So let me go back to normal on that. All right, so that's all right. Oh wow, it's getting bright. All right, well that's good. If it's getting bright, that means that the sky's getting clearer. All right, you can still see cloud passing by. But I'll tell you, this part from about here over to the left, from about the center to the left end edge of the moon, looks a lot darker to me than the right part does. And that's not uncommon at this phase, where you might start to notice a little bit of dimming. But It's not that obvious to the naked eye, but because we're doing this on video, um, we're actually kind of able to record that. There's clouds. Those are clouds coming. So as the clouds come, I have to increase the exposure to kind of get that light coming through so we can capture it. And you can see the turbulence in the atmosphere. Especially if you look at the edges of the moon, it looks like it's, it gets all, we call it boiling, but it looks, it's shimmering. Wow. All right. Well, hopefully that we get to the thinner part of the clouds before first contact with the umbra. But we shall see. And again, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. That's really appreciated. So let's see how this is doing here. All right, that's good. It's kind of cool watching the clouds go by like that. All right, that's a good sign. But us astronomy buffs refer to this as a sucker hole. When it suddenly clears up a little bit, and you're fighting between patches of clouds. You're peering through the sucker holes, and it's that could be what we're seeing, but I don't want to make noise to go outside if I don't have to, because I know my wife is asleep. And I never want to wake her on a school night. Let's see how we're doing here. Let's make a quick adjustment. And again, when the umbra makes contact with the moon, we're going to start to see it. Let me just increase the exposure here. We're going to start to see it over here. Yeah, to me, this part, the left edge of the moon definitely looks darker than the right edge. And that can happen. It's due to dust and things in the atmosphere can actually, cause that. But it is subtle, but I definitely see some shading, some darker shading, especially down here. There we go. It's getting brighter, so that's good. As it gets brighter now, if I get down to 1 millisecond and it's too bright, that's a really good sign. But looking visually at the clouds, it's doesn't look super clear right now. But the clouds are, excuse me, the clouds are moving from the east to the west, and so this is actually a correct image. I believe. Although, oh wait, I have to check. All right, I'm gonna go away from this for just a second. Let me see how close we are to the meridian. Because we are close. Yeah, okay. So this green line is the meridian. We're good probably for another well, probably about 10. I can go past the meridian a bit. Uh, probably about I'll probably go about 10 or 15 minutes past the meridian, and then I'm going to have to stop the video. And although, let's see, timing wise, when's it going to get to the meridian? It's pretty much there. All right, you know what? I'm going to do a manual meridian flip. So bear with me here. Nope, don't want to do that. Oh, wait. Okay, so I'm moving the mount now, which is a little risky, but I have to do it. If I left the telescope on that side of the pier, the camera or the telescope could hit the tripod, and that would be a really bad thing for me. So the home position is just the telescope's pointing due north, right at Polaris essentially. And manually, I am gonna, and I'm not outside, I'm inside, but I'm going to manually move the scope or the mount so it's looking at the moon from the other side of the pier. So I can be a little bit over that halfway point. And in fact, let me do it this way and go. So all right, so I want to be over here. Okay, so let's go there. Go to. So what you're seeing is on the screen, you're going to see a blue square come in, and there it is up top. That's where the telescope is pointing. And the red box is the target area that I selected. And the reason I selected there instead of the moon is because the moon, it would go to the other side of the pier right now. And it's at the area. So let's see what it's doing. It's going to take a picture and see if, okay, so I was afraid of that. So let me take a longer exposure and see how bad the clouds are there. And they're pretty bad. Let's see here. We'll get it. I'm not too concerned. Let me do it this way. All right, so I'm going to put it on a brighter star. Hopefully that star will come through the clouds. And then we can figure out exactly where we're pointing, and then we can get it near the moon and then manually nudge it to the moon. All right, that failed. Again, I want to go a little bit longer. All right, there's some stars. Let's see if we can. All right, that failed. Let's try a longer exposure. Let's go 10 seconds. But if that's, I believe the star was Zosma. If that's Zosma, for a 10-second exposure, that's a pretty thick cloud. Yeah, we're getting more clouds than anything. All right, so we're going to move closer to the moon and see what we get here. Yeah, that was Zosma. All right, so I think that this should put us, again, it's going to be a couple of maneuvers to get there because I have to manually nudge it. what I'm trying to do is just line it up. So, oh shoot. Why is it doing that? All right. It was going the wrong way to get there. Okay. Now I've got it back on track. I can't zoom out. All right. You'll see the blue box in just a couple of seconds. And there it is. So hopefully it'll see some stars. But let's find out. All right, let's take a 10-second shot. The reason I need to go through this process is because I'm not outside with the scope right now. I'm inside, obviously, as you can see. But oof, all right, we're close. We're very close to the moon. I can tell that. Um, we want to nudge it a little bit, but I want to see which way I want to go. To there. And then I'm just going to swing the mount to the east. Although now it says the moon was over, but let me see what happens. Let me try it. Oh, okay. Still checking. Oh, all right. It was able to detect stars. So it's valid. It made a movement. All right, it failed. All right, so let's. Got excited for nothing. We're just a few minutes away from first contact with the Umbra, and I'm sure that we'll be there for that. Although we're not going to notice anything for several minutes. Okay, I don't see any stars at all there. Okay, so let's see, how far east do we have to go? There. Good. Oh, all right, good. Oh, wow. All right. Detected 73 stars. All right, but it failed. Let's just do a 2-second and see. Or 10. But the moon is very close. Okay. Yeah, you can tell it's getting right there. All right, let's move it right on there now. I have it there for. Nope, I gotta stop it. Stop. Okay, that stopped. All right, so I got to do a little tricky maneuver here. Let me see if I can do this using another screen on my phone. Okay. All right, I think I can do this. That's, I don't know. Is it really detecting stars? I don't think so. Oof. All right. All right. Preview. Let me just take a picture, see where we're at. Okay, so it's 1:09 now. So we're first contact is about 10 seconds away, but again, we won't notice anything right away. And by the time I get there, we'll be there by the time way before the action starts. All right, let me go there. Let's see if going there will work. All right, that worked. All right. Now, let me just go. Let me just reduce that there. Did that move? I don't know. Oh, I think I went the wrong way. Hang on. Yep. All right. I know what I did. All right. Let me zoom out so I can see. All right. There. Yeah. All right. Let's see where it's at. It's close. I'm doing this on my phone. It's a little bit easier. Okay. Let's see where it thinks we are. It thinks we're right there, but we're not. All right. I'm going to go outside and do this manually, and I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Just leave that there, and I'm just gonna. Let's see. Oh, that's fine. I'll be right back. It's really cold out. access. Why is that not coming up? Come on. All right. Let me close that. And I'm going to reopen that because I got it and it's looking beautiful right now. It was a real bear getting it where I needed it, but the clouds are pretty thick, but there's a layer of high thin clouds and there's some thicker clouds that are lower, but they're thinning out a bit. So what I saw on the satellite looked good. Let me just opening my app to the telescope from the computer. But I actually saw some shading in the shadow already, which is pretty cool. Okay, let me get in. Not now. Okay, there we go. So let me share this and share my screen. Okay, so let me make some adjustments to the picture. All right, so you can see the clouds going by. Let me reduce that down a bit. So you can see the shadow, the moon's shadow here, or the Earth's shadow over here. And again, as I said earlier, that it was coming in from this side, but when I switched to the other side of when the moon crossed the meridian, everything would be upside down. So now Tycho will be up here, and the shadow is going to be over here. So let me see if I can make that a little bit brighter. That just means the clouds are a bit thicker. Let's all right. All right. So now this is essentially a 1/10 of a second exposure. This is 10 frame a second video. What we're seeing. So you can see how much of the moon is covered. I mean, those clouds are pesky, that's for sure. Let's increase the gain. Let's looks pretty good. I'm just going to shoot a quick video. The clouds don't help, but hopefully I can get something decent. Not looking good. All right. Let's increase the gain and decrease the exposure. So again, this is a live view. You can really see the edge of the shadow pretty clearly there. Hopefully it shows up well on YouTube. All right, now I'm shooting at about 50 frames a second. That's getting bright, so that's a good thing. All right, let me stop that because it's getting too bright. I don't want to overexpose it. Let's bring the gain up to 300. And the exposure is going to go. Yeah, the clouds have thickened up a bit. But I'm going to increase the exposure a bit here so you can see what it looks like outside. It really does look just like this right now when I was out there. Let me center it up a little bit so you can get a better feel for it. Oops. I had the speed set too high. Normally I work at 4. And that's 4 times the speed of the Earth's rotation. So in angular motion. Now the camera's on an angle, so the buttons don't relate to up, down, left, and right, but they're pretty close. All right, now let's get rid of that, and let's all right, so now you're getting a pretty good look at the shadow is not quite halfway covering the moon. Let me get that out of the way. Let's look at it here. I want to see what everyone else is seeing. Let's actually take a look at what if Chuck is getting any better results. Where's Chuck? Chuck. There's Chuck. Live. Let's see. He's all right. So Chuck is in Detroit, and the moon just crossed. He's doing his meridian flip right now. It looks like, or I don't know. He might be packing it in. I'm not sure, but we're still about how far away are we here? Let's go live. We're 41 minutes and 50 seconds away from the deepest part of the eclipse. And right now, Chuck's view is not of the moon. It's of, well, the moon is in the image, but it's a wide field view of his observatory. So let's go back to where were we here? It's more of it's covered. I mean, that's pretty interesting. That's cool. I have a feeling that this is going to be a dark reddish color, almost a dark red orange is what I'm predicting for the color, based on the fact that I could see some color with the naked eye, even during the partial phase that we're in right now when I was just outside. Unfortunately, well, actually, I can play around with that. Let me. Let's see. There, that'll help. Just adjusting the reds and the blues to try to get a more natural color. All right, now let's get that a little more exposure. Okay, so down at the bottom where it's getting overexposed, well, all right, that looks nice right now, but when it's getting overexposed, that means that it's clearing. So that's actually a good sign when we see that. Hopefully we'll get, let me take a look at the satellite again. No, here we go. Let me refresh it. Okay. It looks like, boy, it's hard to say. It looks like more of the same is what we're going to be seeing for the rest of the eclipse. So I'm going to have to be constantly fudging with the gain and the exposure times. What happened? Why did it do that? Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So, okay. Well, that's good. Now that it's getting like that, let me lower this a bit. Okay, that's looking nice. But again, we're still almost 40 minutes from where it reaches totality. But this is actually good. The exposure times we're up about 100. Now we're down below 20. So that's good. Hopefully it'll thin out. Oh yeah, that's getting nice. All right. So now we've got. Oh, let's see. I'm just seeing the comments now. I've been so busy adjusting the camera and everything that I haven't even looked at it as. There's a few people in the chat, so that's excellent. Thank you. Let me just make some adjustments here. That's more of the moon's covering. That's great. Now keep an eye on what Chuck's doing. Chuck is out in Detroit, and oh, all right. So all right, he's casting somebody else's channel now. And his view looks very similar to mine, except it's upside down compared to mine. And that could be because of, I'm not sure if it's the camera. I think in my case, it is the camera, but that's fine. It is what it is. Oops. So we're just a little under 36 minutes away from full eclipse or totality. And that will last for 65 minutes. Oh, that's not good. Let's increase that. Slack. Um, I just got a text from a friend in Massachusetts asking if it's clear. Uh, oh, there we go. That's coming back up. Longer exposures though, but yeah, a lot more of the moon is covered now by the shadow. And where was that? Not there. Here. All right. So a lot of lunar eclipses are referred to as they call it a blood moon. And again, this is from that article on space.com, but the term blood moon has been used to describe a total lunar eclipse. And the phrase was actually comes from a book that was written by a pastor who claimed that beginning in April 2014, a series of 4 consecutive lunar eclipses, all coinciding with Jewish holidays, with 6 full moons in between and no intervening partial lunar eclipses, was an omen to the end of times. And the eclipse series is called the lunar tetrad and is very variable with time. So, Gene Mayes, who was the expert on calculating, is the expert on calculating lunar positions. It's probably Jan. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, but he pointed out that no tetrads occurred when Louis XIV was king. So that was 1909 to 21. Oh, and but from the years 1909 to 2156, no fewer than 16 tetrads will have taken place. And during a 2,000-year interval, 25 of those began in March 16th and May 15th. Between March 16th and May 15th, meaning that there have been other periods in history when tetrads coincided with Jewish holidays, yet the world didn't end. So that's right out of space.com. So the blood moon prophecy is really just a fallacy that should go in the same place as these nonsensical predictions about the rapture or the end of the world, any other end of the world thing, the Mayan calendar, all that. It's just a bunch of hogwash. So um, let's see. All right. Oh, we're still dealing with the clouds, but we are getting a nice image of the moon. I'd like to shoot a video of it, but with these clouds, it's not really going to come out good. Um, let me just, yeah, no, that's pretty thick, those clouds. When I'm imaging Jupiter or Mars with this rig, which they look really, really small, because again, it's only 377 millimeters focal length. They, yeah. All right, hang on, I'll get back to it. So I was just saying that the gain that I use for imaging the planets and even the moon in most cases, because I'm usually doing it through a nebula filter, is usually much higher in the fours, between 400 and 450 usually. So I'm not used to working at lower gains with this. When I did, when I hooked it up directly to a laptop, I would be at a lower gain setting, but that would vary too. I would often go around 300. All right, let's increase this. Let's increase that. And I've got some other cool facts about. And actually, it doesn't surprise me that we're going to have to increase the gain because the moon is getting fainter as we go through this here. Hopefully. Let's try this a different way. Let me go to preview. So this is the full field of view is what you're going to see here, and this may be too short of an exposure with those clouds. Yep. All right, let's go 0.02, so a 50th of a second. And at a 50th of a second, that's about what it looked like when I was outside, except the moon wasn't covered quite that much. That's actually pretty good. Let's lower it down to 0.01. So you can see the field of view with this telescope, with this configuration. You can fit a little more than, not quite 4, a little more than 3 full moons, about 3.5 full moons across the frame. So it's the field is actually 1.7 degrees from edge to edge, top and bottom. I can zoom in, and you're seeing what's called digital noise. Those colored dots are digital noise. And the places where you don't see it, where it's white, is where it's fully saturated. So the signal outrank the noise there. But this is why I do video, because you got a whole bunch of frames where there's a lot of things that aren't clear. But using video, you can put them together to create a good image, a clean image. Let's increase that just a tad. Okay, so that's brightening. So that's good. Oops, keep hitting the wrong button. Thing is, this is the only numbers I can select. I can go from 100th to 1,000th of a second, and that's it. That's my range. I can go higher with a different, if I go into a different mode. If I go into auto run and go to my settings and clear them, reset, and close that, delete. Let me create a new sequence of lights, and my exposure is going to be point 0.0025. And let's take 10. Okay. And let's go. Ignore. I turn the cooling off. I don't need it for this. I don't know, it might help with the noise, but okay. All right, so that exposure is too long. That's a good sign. So let's stop that. And let's go back to video. And that's a good thing we're seeing. Nice. All right, there's still some clouds. But all right, I think I'm going to try to shoot a video here. All right, all right, so I'm taking a video now, and I'm shooting at about 50 frames a second again. On the screen, it's only displaying about 5 frames a second. but hopefully, it's Father come and say, I don't want to change the exposure or anything. I got to stop it there. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. I mean, when I stack that, I'm not going to stack it on here. But these exposure times are pretty short, so the clouds are thickening. And if you're able to, if it's clear where you are at totality, I'd suggest that you go outside and take a look because it should be beautiful. Oh, all right. Chuck is back online, so let me share his view for a minute, and then we'll come back to mine. And let's stop the share. Share. Nope, not that one. There we go. Okay, so this is in Detroit. This is Chuck's astrophotography, and he's an interesting guy. He's got a good channel. So that's the view from outside his observatory, looking up at the moon, and then the other view was from his telescope. So that's what Chuck's doing. But we're interested in what's happening here. I'm interested in what's happening here. So let me share that again. Okay, so let me just make an adjustment. I always get one wrong. And there. Okay, there. Tracking is on. Let's increase that exposure. All right, so there's still clouds, but let's shoot a quick video here. 13 frames a second. That's not good. Well, I'm shooting at 76 milliseconds, so that's not going to be good. I was worried about filling up my hard drive with videos tonight because these videos are the longest. Each one, if I do them at the full size like this, each one's 4 gigabytes, so they're big. When I zoom in on an area, which I can do that now even. Let me go back to this and take a look at the Terminator here, where the shadow is. I like that. That's good. That means that it's clearing up. Oh, starting to notice just a hint of color in the dark area. Okay, now. Okay, now, so we're zoomed in a little bit, not a lot, but all right. Oh, that's good. That's good. So, to me, I can see a very faint bit of red mixed into the dark here. Boy, the atmosphere is really, really turbulent. If you look at it, looks like we're looking through water almost, but that's the zoomed in view. Let's back out to the wide view and let's recenter it. There's a bug in this software that the exposure time defaults. It does it in a couple of other areas of the program. Let me shoot a quick video. Maybe I can capture one. This would be nice. It's getting too bright. Come on. There we go. I usually never root for clouds, but in this case, I actually was. Those thin clouds were helping. So this video that I'm shooting right now is going to be 4 gigabytes. I'm actually going to stop it a little short because I want to center the moon better. Because when we hit totality and the redness comes, you know, when that color, actually before totality, we'll actually start to see it. But it's so beautiful, you want to see the whole thing. But I do need to adjust the exposures constantly. See, there's that bug. All right, that's a good sign. And looking at visually at the clouds, I'm seeing a lot of breaks in the clouds, so that's a good sign. That's a very good sign. All right, no more caffeine. Yeah, that's cool. Sorry, I keep clicking on the wrong screen. So now we're seeing at about 15 frames a second is what we're seeing on the screen. Even though I'm shooting faster than that, it can only display that. You know what? If I increase the gain, or not the gain, the exposure, you'll start to see the color coming in on the. Here we go. Look at that. There we go. Now that's pretty cool. We're going to shoot a video of that. Unfortunately, it's only at 4 frames a second, but I'll let that go for. Oh, look at that. There's a star just to the left of the moon that's being picked up in the image. And I'm not worried that about the exposed part of the moon, but look at that color. That's beautiful. It's a really nice copper color. I want to just go a little bit longer with this video, as long as I can, because not as long as I can, but you know, for a decent amount of time, because it's only shooting 4 frames a second. Although I'm going to get better than this, as long as if it's this clear. The fact that we're seeing a star that close to the moon, I wonder what star that is. Let me look. I'm opening an app I use a lot called Stellarium, and it's a free app that you can download for your phone. Although the version on the computer is much more powerful. And if you watch any of my What's Up in the Sky This Month episodes, you'll see screenshots of Stellarium in there. I use them for a lot of my sky simulations. So I'm opening it right now, and I want to go look at the moon. There it is. Come on. All right, let me zoom in on that. Okay, there it is. That star is 89 Leo. So uh, it's magnitude 5.75, which puts it on the edge of naked eye visibility from most of the darkest spots that you can ever be at. Um, it's very faint, but here, we're seeing it as a decent, decent star. All right, this video has been going for 2.5 minutes, and I'm going to stop it now. Okay, and we are going to lower that exposure time down and see what this looks like. Look at that. I've got to increase the gain. That's a really good sign. And I'm seeing a lot of breaks in the clouds looking outside. Actually, let me increase the gain again to see the color. That color is beautiful. Let's really pump it up here. Yeah, that's nice. That's very nice. Let's see how we're doing this way. Let's make an adjustment. Wow, got it right. All right, so let's get rid of that. Let's close that. All right, that looks absolutely beautiful. I'm guessing now I'm not outside. I may go outside during totality. I'll go outside, but my guess is if you're outside now, visually, it wouldn't quite be that red, but you would see shading on the moon visually. This is very cool. Yeah, we're getting close here. So let's look at the timings. All right. So the full eclipse begins in 13 minutes at 2:26:06, and it's currently 2:13:39. So we've got about 13 minutes to go. Yeah, 13 minutes to go, or 12 and change now. And that's when it's going to get really colorful and beautiful. I'm going to step away for a moment. I'll be right back. Oh, nice. All right. Okay. All right. I'm seeing good things here. Wow, that's beautiful. Let's increase the gain. Now the gain's not that high this time. And we're getting nice color. And I'm not, knock on wood, I'm not seeing clouds, but I know they're up there. That's a beautiful color. That's really nice. We were picking up that star is really cool. Yeah, there it is. That's cool. And 60 milliseconds, you can say, 50, you can see it. Less than that. Wow. All right, that's good. Actually, I see a lot of breaks in the clouds now, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm actually going to lower the gain a bit. Yeah, this should be really beautiful to the naked eye. I hope it's clear wherever you are. Oh, all right, so we've got 217, 226. So we're less than 10 minutes away now, 9 minutes and change. It's getting cold. It's 36 degrees outside Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. I can't do that in my head. So again, this is live video of what's happening up in the sky right now. Wow, that's pretty wild. Look at that. That's a pretty thin sliver now. That's nice. I'm going to be, we're doing some rearranging, and I'm going to be moving my desk to, I don't know if you can see the desk behind me. Let me see. Oops. No, you can't see it, but over here there's a wooden roll top desk, and I'm going to be moving my stuff into there and getting rid of this desk that I have, which doesn't have drawers, and I've always hated that. So I'm going to get this, move this into the roll top, and I'll have two monitors over there. Here I only have one. Because the way the desk is, I can't physically put a second monitor. Well, not easily. Not in a way that would be helpful. So over there, I'll be able to do the two monitors, which will be really nice. Yeah, you're really starting to see the reds coming in, and that exposure is longer. Let's drop it down. That means it's clearing. All right, so this is about the exposure that I would shoot this at. It's actually a little bright even. I might even go a little bit more or a little less. But to see what it looks like visually, this part's going to be bright, to the naked eye. But you can see as I increase the gain, how much you're seeing that copper red color on the moon. That's beautiful. All right, let's. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's like almost like a salmon a salmon pink with the 89 Leo right there. I hope that's 89 Leo. I'm sure it is. Let me see what's. Oh, wait. No, that was not 89 Leo. That's actually a magnitude 6.45 star. It's HIP 56388. I was looking at the wrong star before. So using Stellarium, I was able to figure out what star it was. Okay, wow. Oh, that color is gorgeous. Then the star, that's right there. That's magnitude 6.45. So technically, if it was a moonless night and you were out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean in the darkest part of the world with no lights within 1,000 miles, it would be on the very edge of naked eye visibility at magnitude 6.45. Um, the faintest people have reported to see is just below magnitude 7. So in the high sixes, but 6.5 is considered the naked eye limit. But that's from a perfectly dark location with no moon, no light pollution at all. Let's lower that exposure down because we're about 4 minutes away from totality. And that's at 1 millisecond. The skies have pretty much cleared up. I think there's still some high cloud, but the skies have cleared. This is fantastic. Let me close this. And let me look at our timings. Two 2606. All right. 26. All right. So we're a little over 3 minutes away from totality. It's as exciting as this is, and I'm pretty excited. It's nothing like the way you feel at a total solar eclipse. That's just that's a whole different level. So what's going to happen is when we hit totality in less than 3 minutes now, it's still going to that edge is going to look bright, but it's going to watch how the brighter edge kind of rolls around the moon. I believe it's going to roll toward the left, but we'll see. Wow, that's a really narrow. All right, well, there's definitely some clouds up there. Yeah, but I'm seeing a lot of breaks in the clouds too. So, all right, now we're getting into. All right, there's some cloud right where the moon is right now. Damn. My exposures are a third of a second right now. Oh, there you go. All right, it's starting to clear a little bit. All right, and we are at what's the time? We're at 2:24:23. All right, well, that's pretty good. That's very nice. I just want to be ready to make adjustments quickly to the exposure if I need to. Because as the clouds clear out, I need to make adjustments. And they're coming in stronger, so. All right, wrong way. Wow, that's a very thin little crescent. All right, we've got less than a minute till totality. So it's now 2:25 and 20 seconds. So we are uh, less than 50 seconds, or less than 45 seconds now. I'm too tired to do math. Up. That's starting to clear. You're starting to see the colors come out. Let me increase the exposure a bit. Oh, there we go. I may need to increase the gain. Increase the gain and lower the exposure. There we go. All right, we are at totality. So the moon is totally eclipsed. The time is now 2:26 and 12 seconds. So I announced it a couple of seconds early. I apologize. But you notice that edge is still kind of bright. We're now past, we're in totality. It's going to be in totality for 65 minutes. And that shadow the brighter part of that shadow will go. I'm trying to think which way it's going to go. Actually, now I think it's going to go to the right, not the left. But we'll see. Right now, it's about the 6:30, 7 o'clock position. There are some thicker clouds up there right now. These exposures are pretty long. But there we go. And that is a beautiful view. And there's... Oh, that's the star. Yeah. I wonder if it's going to occult that. So, no, there's the star over there. And then there's another star over here. I can look that one up. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, wow, there's a 13th magnitude star that's probably going to be occulted. That one, wow. If that's the one, oh no, that's not the one we're looking at. It's this one. Wow, it's 12th magnitude. That's pretty faint. That one up there. Unless that's a hot pixel. I'm pretty sure it's not. Here, let's move the image just a little bit. It was a hot pixel. It was a hot pixel on my screen, not a star. I didn't think we'd be seeing a 12th magnitude star, especially with the high clouds up there. But we are seeing a 6th magnitude star, which is pretty cool. All right, let's adjust that. All right, so there's a patch of thicker clouds have come in. Let's go to a different mode here. Let me go back to preview. And we're going to take a 1/10 of a second exposure and see what we get. All right, that's not bad. Let's make some adjustments here. Increase the contrast. There we go. It's very noisy, but that's to be expected. Take another image. And I may even go a little longer just to see. Oh, all right. So the clouds must have cleared a little bit. So again, we're seeing that orange coppery color. Here, and there's that star. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my advanced settings, continuous preview. Okay, so I'm gonna set this to 0.2. And now it's just gonna constantly take 0.2 second exposures and load them onto the screen. This is not the best way to do this. I'm just doing it to try to get a feel for what's going on in the sky. All right, that looks nice though. The coloring is nice. That looks good. It also tells me that I need to go a little longer with my exposures in the videos. All right, So let me turn continuous exposure off. Continuous preview, not continuous exposure. All right, now, yeah, that looks really nice for just a regular 0.2 second exposure. Yeah. All right, let's go back to video, and we're gonna have to increase that gain a lot. So now I'm looking at the histogram, which is these lines on the bottom. And that's what I'm using for my judgment of what settings to use. I don't want them to go all the way over. But I can tweak that reddish color a little bit by adding more, but it was more natural at that right around there. There's a cloud. That's a 1/4 of a second exposure almost. And you can barely see anything, so we're going to have to wait on that. Oh, and there it goes. It cleared out. All right, let's get ready to drop that down. Oops, that was the wrong one. All right, I'm actually going to use the histogram to make sure the red and the blue are correct. That's the tail. Come on. The clouds are messing me up. That's pretty close, though. There we go. Yeah. The clouds are making this difficult in a lot of ways. Obviously making it difficult. But... All right, let's go back to preview mode for a minute. And we're going to do a 1/2 second exposure. Let's see what we get. Oh, all right, let's try a second. This is what's called bracketing your exposures. All right, so at 1 second, that's pretty good. And I can play around with the histogram now. It's going to have a lot more in it because this is a longer exposure. So there's more data. Let's back that down and then increase the contrast, bring that up a little bit. All right, yeah, that's getting there. Take another. And let's go to auto. It's actually kind of good that I'm doing this live cast because I'd be talking to myself like this even if I wasn't. Oh, all right. That's all right. This is all right. Wow. All right. That's a 1/2 second exposure. Wow. All right. I'm actually going to go outside and take a look. I'll be back in a minute. Okay. Well, the moon is barely visible to the naked eye. The clouds are pretty thick, as you can see here. Um, Let me go back to preview. The moon popped out. That's a 1 second exposure right now. Let me go longer. Let me go 3 seconds. Now I think we're going to get another break in the clouds. I'm going to check the satellite in a minute. I'll check another radar. Yeah, that's not good. Let's go 10 seconds. It looks pretty well socked in right now, but I'm gonna totality's long, so we'll it just started. So let's give it a few minutes and see what happens. Yeah, there's all right, but that's a 10-second exposure. 30 is going to be a mess, but I'll do it. And with that 10-second one, I can play around with it while it's. Yeah. All right, let's see what the 30 does. That'll tell us a little more about how cloudy it is out there. All right, that's a 30-second exposure. Wow. I actually want to let me adjust that a little bit. And then there's a lot of data to work with. All right, there. Yeah, several stars in there. That's nice. Let me get a screenshot of this. There. All right. But the fact that we needed a 30-second exposure to get that is not very good. So we are going to keep at it. We're going to take another 30-second shot. And actually, let's not do that. Let's take a shorter one. Let's go 10. Because 30 is really overkill. View. All right. So at 10 seconds, all right, that's the shadow is moving to the bright part of the shadow is moving to the right. So that's it doesn't pass directly straight through the shadow, and there's always a brighter edge, or typically there's a brighter edge. I don't want to say always, but that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's actually 10 seconds is showing. If it were clear, that's how it would look to the naked eye, most likely. But we're shooting through very high clouds, which are letting some of the light through. It would be nice to get, shorter exposures here, but and that's mostly cloud, so that's not good. Oh wait, no, that was because of the histogram. That's still pretty bad. Yeah, the clouds have gotten thicker. Let me take a look at the guide scope. All right, let's do a 1/10 of a second exposure. Let's do 1 second and see what that shows. Nothing. Let's go longer. Let's go 5. There's the moon at the bottom. So that's 5-second exposures. That's 5-second exposures. That's too much. That's good. 3-second. That's too much. Well, that's good. Let's go to half a second. Maybe the gain is different here. No, that's what it's saying. That's real time. All right, so there's a lot of cloud up there right now. So that view that I was looking at, there's a second telescope on the main telescope. It's called a guide scope. It's smaller. It's a 50 millimeter objective. It has a focal length of 200 millimeters. And I have a second camera attached to that telescope. And that telescope, when I'm taking deep sky images of galaxies and nebulae and things like that, that camera in that second telescope takes a picture every 0.2 seconds. So it takes 4 or 5 frames a second. And the computer analyzes the image, and if the stars are moving because the mount isn't tracking properly or my alignment's a little off, it can compensate for it, and it's called auto guiding. And so that was, we were looking through the auto guide system. So I was looking through that camera, which I can do, and normally when that's running, it would be looping. And normally, again, okay, so that's 1 second loop. All right, so that's starting to clear. And this is a good tool for this to find that. All right, so let's go back to here and see what we've got, because I think we're going to have something better. All right, there's still high thin clouds moving. You can see them moving. All right, so the exposure times here, it's close to almost 4/10 of a second. Let me just recenter this. All right, so once I recenter this, and there we go. Hold on, let me just double check it again. All right, that's fine. All right, clearly there's some pretty heavy duty clouds that we're shooting through at the moment. Let me go to preview. Be a little easier here. I can do continuous preview, and that would help. All right, that's a 1 second exposure. Let's try a 2 second shot, see what we get. That's not any better. Let's go a little longer. Let's go 5. I want to check a setting here. All right, that's a 5 second exposure. That's not great. All right, so it's 2.5 degrees. So it's 35, 36 degrees out. It was cold out when I just went out to take a look. But I am seeing breaks in the clouds again, so that's a good thing. Let's try another exposure. All right, that's actually pretty decent for 5 seconds. I should actually do that on my phone. But 5 seconds is too long to shoot video. So, um, all right, I'm actually controlling it from my phone now, not from the computer. So let's see if we can see that. No. All right. Let's see what we can see here. All right. And I keep clicking on the wrong thing. Video. Wow. It's either a super dark eclipse. Well, it's the clouds. I can tell you it's the clouds. Let's, you know what I'll do in a second? In fact, rather than mess around with this, I can mess around with that. Let's let me change the share and we'll see how Chuck is doing. Oh, Chuck's got a good view. All right, let me switch over to Chuck, and I'll keep talking. Share. Okay, so here's what Chuck is looking at, and you can see it's he's got a nice, beautiful view right now, and his view is upside down compared to mine. The brighter part is at the top here, where for us it's at the bottom, and that's only because the orientation of my camera. That's the only reason for that. All right, let me leave that on the screen and let me see what I can do with the image here. All right. All right, we've got really thick clouds right now. I have the gain at the maximum on the camera, and the exposure on the video side of this is pretty high, and not seeing it. It's not coming through, which tells me the clouds. It's either the clouds or there's too much. Uh, uh, you know, it's a very dark eclipse, but even if it was a really super dark eclipse and no clouds, we would see it. All right. So my 5-second exposures are, showing. Uh, you can see the eclipse, you can see what's happening, but again, what Chuck has here is that's his view from Detroit, and fortunately for him, he's got clearer skies than we have right now. But I'm keeping a constant eye on it. So once it clears up again and comes back out, I'll switch back to our view. Oh, wow. It's actually worse right now. So while we're watching Chuck and waiting for the things to get a little bit better, I do have some other interesting facts about eclipses. Um, So the next lunar eclipse that happens is going to be the opposite of this one. It's going to take place later this year on September 7th. And it's the whole Eastern Hemisphere is going to get a great view instead of the Western Hemisphere. So in March, we'll have another shot in March, on March 3rd, 2026. But it's not going to be good for the East Coast. The moon's going to set during in the morning during the total phase. So from the East Coast, if you have a really good western horizon, you'll be able to see see it, but it's going to be very, very low. North America has another good shot in August of 2026, August 27th and 28th, on an almost total lunar eclipse. 93% of the moon will be covered, and that's actually not bad. You can see color, and you can it's pretty nice, even at 93%. Yeah, the clouds are not doing good here. Wait, let's see. Oh, and that article on space.com that I was referencing was written by Joe Rayo, who's a former guest. He's been on the podcast before. So he was on a few years ago to talk about was it a Mars occultation? Had something to do with Mars. Yeah, I think it was a Mars occultation. So it was a very interesting conversation we had, and I actually ran into Joe Rayo on the way home from the eclipse last year in the total eclipse in April. So that's kind of cool that he wrote that article. Let's see how we're looking here. Okay, let's see. How's Chuck doing? Chuck's doing fine, it looks like. I'm a little jealous there, Chuck. I've never been jealous of Detroit before, but suddenly I am. Let me look at the weather apps here, see what's going on. I'm not getting a good feeling about this. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, this is not good. Let's update this one. Mostly. All right, yeah, this has us 85% cloud cover. Gets a little better as the night goes on, but not much. I may have to call it a night here. Let me take a look at the camera. I'm taking a 10-second exposure right now. Well, I'll be able to get 2 hours sleep if I have to pack up now. So. Yeah, it's a 10-second. I'll show you what I'm seeing here on my end. So that's a 10-second exposure. Let me do another one right now. You can also increase the gain on the camera. It's not something I normally do with my camera. I usually leave it at gain 100, and it never. Oh, that's not true. It has changed, but not much. Yeah, let's try that. If you notice on the screen, there's these dark blotchy spots. Those are actually specks of dust on the camera sensor. Okay, well, that's too much. Let's, all right, forget that. That's a good sign, actually. No, not that good. No, not even seeing the moon there. Let's go a little longer. Yeah, the forecast just does not look good. The satellite view shows that it's coming in pretty hard. All right, that's a 3-second exposure, and you can barely see it. I'm really disappointed, people. Folks, I really wanted to be able to do this whole thing for you, but I have a feeling it's not going to happen. That's a shame. I mean, we're definitely seeing something, which is good. But let me try another 3-second exposure. Yeah, no, it's pretty well socked in. Let me try something. We'll go 5. Oh well. The good news is I did get like 3 hours of pretty decent exposures on the Horsehead Nebula tonight, but I don't think probably gonna have to throw away about an hour of them, but I think I'll end up with about 10 hours or more, no less than that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. I could, depending how if the images are sharp, even if there's some thin clouds in there, the software can sort that out for me. So I'm not liking that. Yeah, this is not good. Now, there's other live feeds out there. I know, Chuck, for example, um, is one. There's lots of others that you could go to. But I do have if you stick around for a few minutes, um, I had other things planned. I'm disappointed, but you know what? It's fine. I would. I'm gonna call this a wrap on the eclipse tonight. I will edit this down and create a like a highlight reel and put that out there. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for coming out and looking. Unfortunately, the clouds have rolled in here, and it's not looking good. So I'm going to pack it in for the night, and thanks again for joining us. Carpe Noctem. Seize the night.